Morning, everyone. Today we've got Crystal Johnson here from Property Stylist of Melbourne, and she's just an incredible girl who has a natural talent for design. But what she does is she helps people prepare their property for sale or prepare a holiday house perhaps for Airbnb, and she gives you hints and tips. And in that, it doesn't have to cost trillions of dollars or, do the whole renovation thing. And she'll come through and she'll show you how to add value. So for those of you out there that know me, you know that I'm not really in this space, but I thought it would be a really good idea to share this information with you all, just in case you're about to enter into this market of thinking about renovating or thinking about selling or thinking about putting one of your investment properties on Airbnb. And Crystal's going to give you some hints and tips about how to maximise your return on investment. So thank you, Crystal. Thank you very much for taking the time today and sharing your information with us. And how are you? And how's business in general?
My pleasure. Yeah, look, it's definitely been crazy at the minute. So we've had to, shut up shop for the next 6 weeks for our actual on-site styling, so doing up properties to go on the market. To be honest, I've really sort of welcomed this slowing down of the pace because we've been really busy, which has been great. Real estate has still been going well. We've just sort of received word that a lot of our properties that we've actually had styled at the moment have actually sold. And sold prior to virtual auction, and also sold above the reserve as well. So that's with 4 of our properties that were on the market. We've just sort of had that come in today, so that's really good.
That's amazing. So I talk about properties aren't going to decrease in a particular price range because there are still plenty of buyers out there, and you've just proved that by saying that these properties have sold over the reserve. Could you give me an indication as to what that price range was?
Yeah, so we're definitely finding properties on the lower end of the scale are selling a lot quicker and better. So around that $1 million mark. So that's where a lot of the properties that we do sort of sit. We do a lot of the really quite high end properties. That I've found it's definitely slowed that little bit, but still going. As much as this pandemic has obviously affected so many people and so many people's hip pockets, there's a lot of people that have not been affected, and there's a lot of money still out there. Properties that we've found, so a lot of them sort of went about around sort of 50 to 100,000 over reserve, which is great. So, not only... Yeah, I think it's been really great. I mean, I keep in contact with my agents weekly. And one of the things that we're really pushing as well, is just making sure that people don't really budge on the prices that they're wanting for their properties. I know that there's a lot of people out there that are trying to be savvy and trying to go and get themselves a bargain, and I think we knew that was going to be something that would happen, but that's just not the case at the moment. And they're still selling really well, great prices and really quick. So we've had we had a property that sold in 4 days the other week, which is amazing, and a lot have been within a couple of weeks. So
selling so quickly and selling above the reserve is definitely against what the media is talking about, and
that's it.
Definitely not what the media is talking about, as in retraction of prices, 10, 20 or 30%, whereas you're telling me that obviously the vendor had set a particular price and they were selling it above what their expectation was in this market. That is fantastic news. I feel that it's increasingly important to discuss and actually share what's happening on the ground floor rather than what predictions are or economists are talking about, because it is happening. And you are very right. I've been saying that, unfortunately, we do have 10, if not 12% of our workforce out of work. However, the positive side of that is that, 88 or 90% of our workforce is still engaged, and obviously the banks are still prepared to lend money in that perspective, in that space. And, if you're saying that homes are selling over reserve at the $1 million mark, that's fantastic, because I talk to people in the 450 to the 850 mark specifically for investment properties. So that's fantastic. So that's really great news to start off with. So tell me a little bit about what you do to prepare a home for sale, or what you would suggest if someone was about to, they've got an investment property and they decide to turn it into a holiday home or put it on Airbnb. What are your minimum requirements that you would suggest that the incoming buyer would like to see, or the incoming person that's going to lease that accommodation out?
So my biggest thing is presentation. Presentation is key. We think about, and especially nowadays, everything has gone online. Absolutely everything that we do has gone online, and it's really always putting yourself in the other person's shoes, really. I mean, it's thinking about when we're looking to hire, looking to at a hotel, looking to buy a property. Those ones that aren't as appealing, haven't been photographed as nicely, where there's just that attention to detail lacking, we notice that, and we're not as drawn to those properties naturally, because the untrained eye doesn't see the property for the value that it is, and actually see the true potential there. If the photos are quite cluttered, or just poor photos, or if it just hasn't been styled nicely. And it's not to say that you have to go over the top and style the property amazingly. That definitely does help. It's more about just thinking about what your market is, but it's just making sure that your property, no matter if it is for sale or if it is for a rental, it needs to look good online. It needs to look really appealing. Otherwise, you could really be losing those potential buyers or losing those holiday stayers as well.
Okay. Oh, extremely important. Thank you for that. So you mentioned the word, the photo doesn't need to be cluttered. So I assume that you're big on decluttering. And what does that exactly mean?
Yeah, it's just about keeping things really, really simple. When you're styling a home for selling, we've all got our things at home. We've all got our personal items, but that's not what sells a house, and that's not what you're selling to the people. You're selling the home itself. And to make spaces feel really nice and big and open, we need to keep things really nice and simple. One of the simplest things that I tell my clients is, say for instance, you're popping your property on the market, you've done your dining room, you think it's all perfect. What you really need to do is even just get your phone out and look at it through the eye of your phone. That's what people are going to be looking at. And if that doesn't look attractive to you, you've really got to detach yourself from the fact that it's your house, and you've got to go, okay, if I'm looking at a property and this is what I'm looking at, do I think that looks great? And sometimes you do need to really, really pare things back in order to get that perfect shot, because the way that it looks to you standing in the space as opposed to how it's going to look visually online, it's very different. So I think that's really, really important, just keeping things really minimal, just functional. That's the main thing.
Well, that's an excellent tip. I would never have thought about looking at, yes, you are right, I would probably look at the room, I've cleaned it, I've decluttered, and then I'd stand back and I'd think, oh, that looks lovely. But I would never have thought about thinking about taking a photo of it and thinking about, well, it's online. And I suppose something that would come up out of that is that if you have decided to sell your home or decided to put your home up for lease, there must be a decision you've made emotionally that you want to do this. So therefore, we've got to detach the emotions and make this a very transactional transaction, as in no emotions whatsoever.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's so important. I think, and what I really discuss with all of my clients, it's what's your end goal? And it's about what we have to do to get to that, and emotionally detaching from the house itself and looking at, let's shift those emotions to what we want that end goal to be and what we want to achieve out of this, and let's get excited about it and excited about the process of what's going to take us to that point and what we've got to do to get there, and to give you the absolute best opportunity that you have of reaching that end goal, and hopefully potentially even exceeding that as well.
Oh, once again, fabulous tip. That's really, really great. Okay, so we've talked about decluttering, and then we've talked about you don't have to spend, lots of money to do this, and your service would come in and cover, I'm assuming, let's have a look at this. We've tried to engage, if you started to engage you, what then does the process look like? So you've talked about having a conversation and getting the vendor really excited, but how does the process happen, and what sort of time frame are we looking at here?
So, look, we have so many different options. For me, I think it's just so important for everyone to engage a stylist, even at the absolute basic. So when it comes to selling your home, we do pre-sale consults, and they're at a small fee, and just, I feel, something that it's so important. My real estate agents basically don't sell properties without getting me through them for at least a pre-sale consult. They see the true value in me just popping out for an hour. And I have actually, in cases over the last week, actually just done it via FaceTime, and people have shown me through their properties via FaceTime as well. And then what I do is do a detailed report and just sort of give my suggestions. And that can be without adding styling onto it at all. Styling, absolutely, and that's where I always speak to my clients about, what our end goal is. If we're looking at something that's, we're really trying to achieve that top end of the market, I mean, you've got to spend money to make money. It's the case in everything, as with everything in life, but on the lower end of the scale as well, and with people that are on really, really tight budgets, it is amazing to see the difference that just having that fresh pair of eyes, that trained pair of eyes, that, this is obviously what I do every day, and helping with your furniture placement, helping you, because I'm a person that comes in and I'm not attached to your items, and helping you with what needs to go, what's to stay, and what is going to look best in the photos and selling your home, and actually helping you prepare each of those spaces. So even just doing that consult, and then I provide you with a list room by room of all of my suggestions, that alone, my agents just feel that, and then often clients go, oh, you want to know what? I love all your ideas. I actually want you to do a little bit more. Can absolutely do that. But just that first step, and having someone, come in that does this every single day and will just see things that you don't see. It's amazing, the things that we actually live with every single day, and we get used to. Nicks in walls and little cracks and things here and there that you don't even notice. And then someone like myself comes in and picks them out, and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't even realize that was there. So all of those things are really, really important.
Oh, once again, I think that's a really good tip that you've given. We can eventually walk around with blinkers on, and we can eventually not see the something that can be a sore thumb to somebody else. And isn't it amazing that you're saying that you've got fresh eyes? And obviously when you're saying you write a detailed report, that tells me that you do have fresh eyes and you are seeing some things, and it becomes obviously as simple as, an hour. And you just said that you did it on FaceTime. How amazing is that? We're so lucky to have the technology that we have whilst we're in this pandemic. So it's a positive against a negative, I suppose. But having fresh eyes, it sounds like just spending an hour of your time and then offering a detailed report can make a huge difference, and it's really good for the potential vendor to see that difference, and then they want to come back and get more. So I suppose that, and would you like some steak knives with that as well? That's fantastic, Crystal. And to come back to say that, vendors are getting above the reserve, and or if they're leasing, their properties are being leased a lot easier. That's exactly what vendors need to hear in today's world, and I think that's really great. So you've given us 3 tips so far, which was really great. If you were talking about, we're not going to talk high end because I'm not in that space, but if we were talking about a property, Melbourne metropolitan area, and we've done the service, we've done the whole declutter, we've taken up your suggestions, and then we want some more. What does that include? So are you going to be using our furniture, or are you going to suggest that we hire furniture? What does that entail, and how long does that take for you to provide that service? Obviously, cost would depend on the amount of hiring of furniture, and or are we using some of ours, are we using some of yours, and the time frame. But it's more about, because costs can vary, I'm sure, home to home, depending on sizes. But it's more about the process. How does this actually happen? How do you get furniture Who picks it out? You know, what do we have to add? And do we live in the house at the same time? I suppose that's something people would want to know.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have a big warehouse filled with every piece of furniture and artwork. And I think at last count, I have over 3,000 cushions, which is really ridiculous. Wow. But yeah, so what we do is we come out and do the consult. And then if we are suggesting that we actually provide items for you, we have all of that available as well. So even sometimes when I am providing a consult, I will offer the suggestion to hire some pieces if that's something that the client is open to, and then I'll always pop that in a quote as well when I'm sending through all of my information, just so that they've got that as well if they're looking to do that. So it can be as little as bringing in some artwork, cushions, just those extra touches. I know that everyone talks about, you know, wanting that display home look at home, and that's what it is. Display homes, it is all about the layers. You know, they've got the rugs, they've got the throw cushions, they've got the throw rugs. It's all of those little extra layers that, you know, really make you walk into a space and just fall in love with it. So we can do as little as just adding all of those finishing touches to your property and to your furniture that you already have. We also do, we work with a lot of developers and just people who have investment properties and doing full fit outs of vacant properties as well. So we can do all of that. Our turnaround is generally about 2 weeks. We're usually sort of about 2 weeks booked in advance, which is quite good to be. Yes, springtime around the corner. Yeah, that sort of tends to push out to the sort of 3 weeks, but if it's smaller jobs, we can actually usually turn them around quite quickly within the week as well. So that my biggest word of advice to everyone is always just to get organised and to get the ball rolling. As soon as you've decided that you want to pop your property up for lease or you want to pop your property on the market, getting a stylist in is one of the biggest things to really get the ball rolling. Because another thing that I help with as well, as I spoke about, you know, picking up those little things like cracks and little imperfections in the house, I would even tell you before spending money on styling, anything that needs to get fixed, get it fixed. I mean, I could sell my styling until the cows come home, but at the end of the day, people are coming into your property and looking for flaws. They're looking for a reason not to buy your property. You don't want to give them any. You want to take all of those away. So if there's, you know, a door that doesn't open or close properly, get it fixed. If there's a crack in the ceiling, people, you know, just look at that and it just sends off alarm bells. We don't want any of those things. So often it can just be as, you know, simple as really decluttering, keeping property really simple, fixing those issues that need to be fixed. And that's where I come in. And they're the sort of things that I look for because I see all the time and I know what I'm looking for. And I can also put you in contact with tradies and the like that can actually do those repairs for you. So definitely get things fixed.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you. Well, I think you've given us some really food for thought here, and that's really great with some tips. But just a couple of things about you. So obviously you love what you're doing, and I can just see that and I can hear that from passion and visual. So where do you see the real estate industry going, you know, now that you've said that you've done FaceTime online, done FaceTime and you're looking at styling, can you see that that's going to be a future part of the industry, or do you see that it's really going to go back face to face? Or are you finding that we might be able to do both and continue in this industry?
Yeah, look, I think one thing that I've really realised, especially in business, is that everyone has a different form of communication style, and every generation is quite different, I feel, as well. I must say, my older generation of clients, I've had some, you know, darling grandmas and grandpas that have FaceTimed me, and it's blown my mind. And, you know, I feel like I'm quite an old soul. I'm only 32, but I love face-to-face. I like to be in your home. And for me, everyone is so different, but am all about creating a beautiful flow all the way through your property from front to back. And yes, I can do that on the phone, but it's just not the same as me being in there and really helping create that flow. And it's about your home telling a story that people want to read. Basically, you want people to be really engaged. I think as well, you know, yes, the main thing about presenting a property for sale is it needs to look appealing online to be able to get people through the door. That's where styling, it is so important. If if that's that one chance that you get online to really engage people and get them to come to your home, if those photos don't look good, you're losing potential buyers. So it's about getting those really great photos, but then once they get through the door, you want them to fall in love. And I just think all of those sort of things can't be done virtually. It's all about coming into the home. I think that's definitely something that where we've been lacking. I, to be honest, have been really surprised the amount of properties that have sold without people walking through them. I mean, I know that obviously so many people do that with off the plan homes, but with that, you know, you're buying a brand new home. So I think you sort of know what you're up for. Whereas, you know, these can be older properties that people are buying sight unseen, which is, just blown my mind. I think I'm definitely very old school with that sort of thing. But yeah, so I think it's going to be a mix moving forward. I think we've all realised how much more we can work from home. And, you know, especially people like myself, I travel a lot for work. I don't need to be doing that every day. And I can be gaining a lot more of my 2 hours that I'm not traveling within one day and doing those Zoom calls and doing things online. So yeah, I definitely think it'll be a bit of a mix for everyone moving forward. I think it's, given everyone a bit of a kick up the butt with technology, and you've just had to embrace it whether you like it or not.
Yeah, very good point. Definitely very good point. Well, Crystal, thank you very much for that. We'll end it here. I appreciate it. I think you're doing fabulously well. I think the key points that we've taken away today, of course, was declutter. Think about stepping back and having a look at the space once it's been re-looked at with fresh eyes, and take your phone. I think it's really good to understand that you offer an option of just doing a walkthrough report. They can do it yourself, or you can come in and offer a combination of part furniture, part hire furniture. And I think it's really good, the takeaway that you've explained that you work with different generations, and you're prepared to do a mixture of communication. So well done. Continued success, because it sounds like you're doing, you know, fantastically. And we'll just share this information. So if people want to get in contact with you, Crystal, how would they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. So my Facebook page, Facebook page, Property Stylists of Melbourne, my website, which is www.propertystylistsofmelbourne.com.au, and Instagram as well. If you Google me, you'll find me. So, and I'm sure the lovely Christine, you'd be able to reach out to Christine if you are after any of my information. But yeah, even if it's just popping an email through if you've got any questions. A lot of people have had an experience with property styling before, but there are so many that haven't, and it is daunting if you haven't before. And there's no silly questions really. It's I'm just here to make sure that you get the best results. That's all that I want from you and for you. So I'd love to hear from you.
Fabulous. Well, thank you. Okay, take care. And this was being recorded in August 2020. And I'm sure you'll be there and doing well from now on. Thank you, Crystal. Bye.
Thanks for having me.